One wrong step, one tragic fall. June 16, 2023. A day that started with laughter and ended with a scream still echoing through Yosemite's valleys. Grace Rohloff, a young woman full of life and passion, set out to conquer Yosemite's mighty half-dome. But in a cruel twist of fate, a single misstep sent her plummeting 500 feet to her death. This is the tragic story of a bright light extinguished too soon, and a harsh reminder of nature's unforgiving power. Grace Rohloff wasn't just a college student with big dreams. She was a light in the lives of everyone who knew her. At just 19 years old, Grace had already touched countless hearts with her warmth, sincerity, and boundless energy. Hailing from Saginaw, Michigan, she had recently completed her freshman year at Grand Valley State University, where she was studying biomedical sciences. Her goal was to one day help people through medicine, a career path as selfless as her personality. Her father said, "One of the things that always struck me about Grace is how determined she was." He said his daughter provided respite care for a young woman with Down syndrome during the day and worked at a coffee shop at night. Friends described her as the most genuine person you would ever meet, someone whose infectious laugh could brighten even the darkest moments. Grace had a natural curiosity about the world and a deep appreciation for nature, which she often shared through photos, journals, and long conversations with those close to her. But more than anything, she cherished her time with her father, Jonathan Rohloff. Jonathan wasn't just her dad, he was her adventure partner, mentor, and best friend. A former professional hockey player turned outdoor enthusiast, Jonathan had introduced Grace to the wonders of the wild from a young age. She used to come in the backpack along with me, and she was more interested in the snacks at that point in time, he remembered. Her passion for hiking only grew as she got older. They had explored forests, climbed small peaks, and taken weekend camping trips that became the cornerstone of their unbreakable bond. Grace hiked the Fulbright Angels Trail all the way to the Colorado River in the Grand Canyon by the time she was 13 years old. As Grace grew older, those father-daughter adventures evolved into more ambitious hikes and shared goals. Their latest dream being to conquer Yosemite's legendary half-dome together. It wasn't just about checking a national park off a bucket list. It was about making memories that would last a lifetime. At 20 years old, she was selected to hike Half Dome with her dad. She was texting me on Thursday night, "Dad, we got drowned. I'm so excited. Can't wait to go. We did it. We finally get to go and do this," Jonathan recalled. To them, Half Dome represented both challenge and connection, a physical symbol of trust, teamwork, and the enduring bond between a father and his daughter. So when they planned their trip in May 2023, it felt like the start of something unforgettable. Yosemite National Park, with its soaring granite cliffs and serene alpine beauty, was the perfect backdrop for their most ambitious hike yet. Grace had done her research meticulously, reading trail reports, watching videos, and even practicing enduring walks back in Michigan. She knew this would be no walk in the park. The Half Dome hike spans 14 to 16 miles round trips and climbs nearly 5,000 feet in elevation. But with her father by her side, Grace felt confident, ready, and excited. The two flew out to California filled with anticipation, arriving at the park with their permits secured and hearts full of excitement. On the morning of May 21st, they set out before dawn with permits in hand, joining other hikers on the trail to Half Dome. Witnesses would later recall seeing the pair in good spirits. The pre-dawn air was crisp as Grace and her father Jonathan crossed the Mist Trail Bridge, their headlamps cutting through the darkness. Jonathan, an experienced hiker, kept a watchful eye on his daughter as they progressed. The 19-year-old biomedical student from Michigan moved with easy confidence. This wasn't her first mountain, but Half Dome was different. "You ready for the cables, kiddo?" Jonathan had asked as they passed Werner Fall. Grace just grinned and adjusted her new hiking gloves. a birthday gift for this very trip. Neither noticed the high clouds beginning to smear across the morning sun. By the time they reached the subdome at noon, the weather had turned. Other hikers were descending, muttering about slippery cables and building storms. But after 7 grueling miles, the iconic summit was right there, just 400 vertical feet of exposed granite between them and glory. "We are so close," Grace pleaded as the first raindrops kissed the rock. Jonathan hesitated. He had summited before, he knew the danger, but his daughter's determined eyes mirrored his own adventurous spirit. "Gloves on, go slow," he finally said. The cables felt wrong from the first step. What should have been firm metal underhand was now a slick, trembling rail vibrating with the movement of other climbers. Grace's gloves grew damp as the light rain became a steady drizzle. Halfway up, she made her fatal mistake. She looked down. "Dad, I don't think I can." The granite erupted in a sudden sheet of water as the storm arrived in earnest. Grace's right foot slipped, then her left. For one terrifying second, her gloved hands held fast as her body swung out over empty space. "Grab the cable," Jonathan screamed. Then the unthinkable. Her left glove tore free with an audible rip. Then the right. Grace's scream echoed off the granite walls as she pinwheeled backward into the void, her father's outstretched hand grasping at empty air. Witnesses described the crack of her body impacting the first ledge, a sound that silenced the entire mountainside. Then she was airborne again, tumbling down the polished slope in a nightmare of bouncing limbs until disappearing into the trees below. Grace plummeted nearly 500 feet down the granite face in full view of her father and dozens of horrified hikers. One witness described Jonathan's anguished scream as the most heartbreaking sound I have ever heard. 10 minutes before she went down, she was smiling ear to ear, happy as can be, hugging me, loving, telling me she loved me, and telling me how this was something she'd wanted to do for so long and just pure bliss. He said, 10 minutes later, "It's just." It was a tragedy to know that she passed away. Emergency crews were immediately notified, but the location presented challenges for rescuers. Yosemite Search and Rescue, among the most skilled mountain teams in the world, scrambled to respond, but the terrain where Grace landed was so treacherous that it took hours just to reach her body. A helicopter couldn't safely approach the sheer cliff face, forcing ground teams to undertake the dangerous recovery mission. As news of the tragedy spread, a somber reality set in among the hiking community. Grace had become another name on Half Dome's grim list of victims. Park records show at least 20 fatalities on the cables since 1990, with most resulting from falls during wet conditions or when hikers weren't properly secured. The aftermath revealed troubling details about that day's conditions. While the cables are technically a non-technical climb, they demand extreme caution. Many hikers underestimate the exposure. There are sections where a misstep means certain death. That afternoon, the combination of late timing, changing weather, and likely fatigue created a perfect storm of risk factors. In the days following the accident, Yosemite officials faced difficult questions about safety measures on Half Dome. The park requires permits to limit crowds, only 300 hikers daily, maintains the cables meticulously, and posts clear warnings. Yet tragedies still occur. Some safety advocates have called for mandatory harness requirements or even closing the route during wet conditions, while others argue this would detract from the wilderness experience. For Jonathan Rohloff, these debates offer no comfort. The devastated father had to return to Michigan without his beloved daughter, the young woman who had dreamed of working in the medical field and helping others. Her funeral drew hundreds, with friends remembering her adventurous spirit, academic achievements, and the special bond she shared with her father. In the investigation that followed, several key safety issues emerged. Number 1, timing. Grace and Jonathan reached the cables around 2 p.m., hours after the recommended turnaround time. Afternoon storms are predictable in the Sierra Nevada, making early starts essential. Number 2, equipment. While Grace wore gloves, She lacked a climbing harness that could have clipped her securely to the cables. Many experienced hikers use via ferrata kits for this purpose. Number 3. Weather awareness. The pair reportedly saw lightning in the distance but continued upward, underestimating how quickly conditions could change on the exposed granite face. Number 4. Group dynamics. As a father-daughter pair, there may have been an emotional drive to complete their goal together despite the deteriorating conditions. Park rangers emphasize that Half Dome demands more than just physical fitness. It requires mountain sense, weather awareness, and the humility to turn back when conditions deteriorate. Grace's tragedy underscores how even prepared, enthusiastic hikers can fall victim to the mountain's dangers. In the wake of her death, her family established a foundation promoting hiking safety education, hoping to prevent similar accidents. Half Dome still stands as it has for millennia, beautiful, imposing, and indifferent to those who challenge it.